Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're going to have a really quick crash course in easy piano, just if you're starting out, and all the things that you might want to practice if you're just starting out on piano. And what I like starting with is actually just kind of taking some right hand fingers and just kind of getting them warmed up. So you could kind of start with almost kind of a C position ideas, like thumbs, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 with your fingers. So you could take number 1, the thumb, and kind of put him on the C, and it really doesn't matter what C, but whatever C you're feeling. And you could almost kind of line up your fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as kind of an exercise, kind of that from the what's a C note, actually where the 2 black keys are to the left is a C, and then we go up the alphabet, C, D, E, F, G. It's kind of setting up on those 5 notes. But the main thing is to just kind of get used to moving your fingers on the piano. So you could take the first finger to the second finger, for instance, and just kind of work that as a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then you could try 1 to 3, kind of the C to the E note. And then you could try 1 to 4, kind of the C to an F note. And then you could try the C to a G note, kind of working the 1 and 5. And then what I like to do is I'll do little stretches. So I'll stretch up to the A note, which is kind of our next note. And then I'll stretch up to the B note, which is kind of our next note. And then I'll see if I can make it to the C to the C. And eventually this gets too big for your hand, then you do what I call leaps, where you could do C to D as a leap, C to E as a leap, and kind of work it that way, C to F, C to G, C to A, and just kind of get used to how far you have to jump. So it's more just kind of isolating just the hand. And all these same exercises I'm demonstrating for the right hand could completely work for the left hand too. So you could do 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, and I'm still setting up my number 1 on the C, but then C to the 1 and 5, 1 and stretches, down to the D, down to the C, and actually especially on the C, if you can make that stretch, it can be cool to kind of get used to what that shape feels like actually in either hand, kind of the C to C. And that's something called an octave, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes, kind of 8 notes up the piano we call an octave. So anytime you got C to C, that's a good idea to kind of work that. Or some other finger combinations that I like to do is kind of building into something called a really cool voicing, or a really cool scale called the C major scale, which is all our white keys. And this can be good if you're starting out too, just to play the note and call it out. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and that's something called a C major scale when we play it that way. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we have kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 kind of an idea. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And making yourself call out those numbers or even calling out the notes can be a good idea. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. Even if it's Hun and Peck, that's cool. Something else that I like to do is kind of like little finger combinations instead of just 2 finger combinations like we're doing. You can put 3 fingers together and try 1, 2, 3s. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And something that can be very cool with that idea actually is to move it around. Kind of doing one of those per note. And that's something I call patterns of 3. C, D, E, D, E, F, E, F, G, F, G, A, G, A, B, A, B, C, B, C, D. So you may want to kind of play around with that. It's always a cool lick to kind of have some patterns of 3 going on. Or you could try 1, 2, 3, 4 as a pattern. And then when you warm up to that, then you got the C note and the D, E, F, G, A, B, C. It's kind of patterns of 4. Or you could try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of a combination, which can be cool. And normally, this is where things get weird. After we get 5, we only have 5 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you count the thumb. And so after, if you were going to do 6s, a lot of times what you would do is something called thumb under, where you'd have like 1, 2, and 3, and then take your thumb and you kind of go under the hand to the F note, and then do another 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of a 1, 2, 3, thumb to the F, 1, 2, 3, kind of an idea for 6s, which by itself can be a very cool thing to practice. Or you can even do that with kind of that patterns of 6. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 from A, from B, from C. Or you could do patterns of 7. 1, 2, 3, and then thumb under 1, 2, 3, 4 can be a cool thing to practice. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, so that could be a cool thing to practice. And if you did all the way up to 5, on that last part, that's a really good fingering for a C major scale. It's 1, 2, 3, thumb under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So kind of a patterns of 8 idea. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Or you could try from D, or E, or F, or G, or A, or B, or C. So that might be some cool stuff to kind of practice for the hand. And then normally after that, I'll talk about some chords actually. And what chords are is where we kind of take the C note, for instance, and we skip over D for an E note, which we call the third of the chord, and then we skip over the F for the G, and that's something called the fifth of the chord. So C, E, and G together make a C major chord. And what can be very cool is to kind of take the left hand. His job normally is the bass player, and so he can play a C note for the C chord, or if you got the stretch, you could do the C with another C, which would sound really big. So that's a C major chord. And what can be kind of cool is to kind of get used to moving that shape around. So we could start from the C for a C major chord, and if you move it over to a D, it's a D minor chord. This sounds really sad. It'll make you cry. And if you move over to another key, then that's a E minor chord. And then, so that's sad too. And then we go to F for a major chord, so that sounds really happy. And then from the F we go to a G chord, and that's really happy. And then we got an A minor chord, and that sounds really sad. But then we go to a B, and the B is something called diminished, and he's really messed up. So B, D, and F, man, that's nasty. And then you're back to C major, which sounds really happy. So it might be kind of a cool idea to kind of take those chords and kind of move them around. So that can be kind of a cool thing to get the right hand used to or the left hand used to. And you could even do that in both hands. If you're kind of wanting more for the left hand, you can even take the chord and try in both hands. Kind of try and find some easy ways to kind of work that. So that might be a cool thing to practice, and that's all the chords in the key of C major. And what can also be cool, actually, as long as you stay on the white keys with the piano, you're pretty safe. Things will sound pretty good. So you could even play a chord, for instance, the C chord, and then make up stuff on the white keys. This should sound pretty happy. So if you just want to doodle some, that could be cool to do a chord in the left and then make up stuff with the right hand. Or you could even switch to a different chord with the left. So just kind of a free form idea there for you, which can be very cool. But a lot of times what I like to do with piano is I'll start with some songs, and we could even chord some songs to sing with our voice. For instance, you could play C for a happy birthday, and then you could go to G for a to you, and then you could do another G, happy birthday, and then you could go back to C, and then to you, and then we do another C, happy birthday, and then we go to F, dear whoever you are, and then we go to G, happy birthday. I'm not really singing this song because it's copyright. And then we go to C, to you, that thing at the zoo. so you may want to kind of play around with that, just kind of blocking some chords. Or I've been in a Stand By Me mood all week, actually. So we could kind of work a Stand By Me as kind of a really easy C major idea. And we could just kind of go over the chords for that. We'd start on the C, when the night, and then we do another C, has come. And then we go to A minor. So we do that same shape on an A note. And the land is, and then we do another A minor, da. And then we go to the F, and the moon. And then we go to a G, is the only. But then we go back to C, light will see. So we get to say C on the C chord. So that might be kind of a cool way to do it. I call that blocking, when you kind of do the bass with the root and the right hand on the chord, kind of just all together. No, I won't be afraid. No, A minor won't. A minor be afraid. Just as F major long. G as you stand. C stand by me. So that might be kind of a cool thing to work. And actually this particular song has a very famous left hand part. So if you wanted to kind of throw that in, you'd follow a G note to a B note to a C note twice in this particular key. And then we do that again, G, B, C, C. And then we do a little walk down, C, B, A. And then we play a G note, and then we go back to A. And then we do an A, G, F, F, A, G, F, F. And then we go F, and then kind of skip to A. And then end up back on G twice, and then we go back to the G, B, C, C, G, B, C, C, and then we do that again, G, B, C, C, and then we start it over on the G, B, C. So all together, you got G, B, C, C, G, B, C, 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 B, A, G, A, G, F, 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 A, G, 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 B, C, C, G, B, C, C. And what can sound really good is to throw the chord in when you're playing the root in the left hand. So for instance, you could play G and B, and then right on that C note, you could play the C chord and make it a hit. So you got G, B, C, C, G, B, C, C. And then we could kind of walk it down, C, B to the A with the A minor chord, and then a G note, and then back to the A with the A minor, and then we got the A, G, F with the F chord, and then the F, A, G with the G chord, and then we're back to the G, B, C, C with the C chord. G, B, C, the C chord, G, B, C, the C chord, G, B, C, the C chord, C, B, A minor with A, G, A minor, A, G, F, 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 A, G, 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 B, C, C, G, B, C, C. So that might be a cool thing to practice as a beginner too. And actually there's lots of other ways that you can kind of comp piano stuff, kind of working chord stuff to support your voice. I call that an accompaniment pattern. And there's a lot of different ways you could do this. You could even do kind of a together, right, 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 right. We're kind of in 4. So kind of a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Could be a cool pattern. Or something else I like to do is kind of together, right, right, together, right, right, together, right, which is kind of cool. Together, right, right, together, right, right, together, right. So what you're doing is you're trying to figure out a pattern you can play with between the hands that fills up the time of kind of eighth notes or 4 beats on the floor. 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's kind of the cool feel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 is kind of how I'm feeling that the other way. Or one of my favorite comp patterns for piano is together, right, left, right, right. So you'd have together, and then a right, left, and then a right, right. Fills up the 4 beats too. Kind of together, right, left, right, right, together, right, left, right, right, together, right, left, right, right, together, right, left, right, right. So if all that other stuff seemed really complex to you, you could just kind of work that pattern through the chords. So you'd have the C, and another C, A minor, and the land is A minor dog, and the F moon is the G only, like we'll see, see. No, I see, won't be afraid. No, that might be kind of an easier way to kind of approach it. A minor, be afraid. We can throw in some basses occasionally. Kind of cool to play around with that for some independence too. Now the weird part is, Stand By Me is really in the key of A major. So this is a little weird actually. If you wanted to play it in the right key, some pianos have a transpose button. And so on this particular keyboard, you'd hit the transpose button and hold it down and then hit an A note. So now C is really an A note. So I could play exactly the same thing we were just doing and be in the right key to play along with Benny King. And that would be a really easy way out. There's lots of cool ways to work easy piano stuff using your transpose button. Or I could actually be playing the right chords. So this is a little weird. We'll take transpose back off. And now instead of starting on a C chord, now we get to go over the other 3 major chords from white key. So we could start on an A major chord where you've got an A note, and this is what's weird is these black keys, we haven't used the black keys, and actually they relate to something called a chromatic scale, which a chromatic scale is where you play every single note and not leave anybody out. Actually, chroma means color and scale means ladder, so this is the rainbow scale. And so normally if you've got a C note and you go to the black key right above it, we call that C sharp. And then you have a D note, but then if you go to the black key right above it, we call that D sharp. And then we have an E note, and then we have an F note, but then we have an F sharp note, and and then a G, and then the G sharp, and then an A, and then an A sharp, and then a B, and then a C. And that's all 12 notes that you'll ever see on any instrument. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Now the weird thing is, sometimes we call those black keys flats instead of sharps. And what a flat is, from the B for instance, down one key, we call that B flat. So if that's A, that's an A flat, and if that's G, that's G flat, and if that's F, then we don't have an F flat, because it goes right to E, although you might see that on a page someday. And then we got an E flat, and then we got a D, and then we got a D flat, and then we're back to C. So it can be a cool idea just to go over all those notes with the chromatic scale: C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, and then bringing it down: C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E flat, D, D flat, C. So the weird part about being in the key of A in Stand By Me is now we're going to be playing an A and a C sharp note and then an E note to make an A major chord. So we're taking our A minor we were playing earlier and taking the C note, which is called the third, and instead of it being now a C, now it's going to be a C sharp, which makes that minor chord sound happy if you play the A, C sharp, and E. And then from the A minor, we could even throw in a bass on that, we'll be going to an F sharp minor chord. So we're going to play an F sharp note and an A note and then a C sharp note. So now we're playing two black keys for an F sharp minor. And then from the F sharp minor, we'll be going to a D major. We're going to play D and F sharp and A. So now we're kind of taking the D minor we were playing earlier, we're taking the F up to F sharp to make it a major chord, make it happy. And then from there, we'll be going to an E major chord. So we're going to play E, G sharp, and B. So it's that same shape we were just on for the D, kind of moved over one. So now instead of playing regular G like E minor, we're going to play a G sharp note and make it really, really happy. So now our chord progression is kind of going from A has A come, F sharp minor, and the land is F sharp minor draw, and the D moon is the E major, like well A, C, C. Now all the comp pattern stuff we were just talking about would work. Actually, you could work the together. Have you afraid? No, I F sharp minor won't be afraid. Just this D long as you E stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by F sharp minor, F sharp minor. So I'm doing together, right, left, right, right. Together, right, left, right, right. E together, right, left, right, right. A together, right, left, right, right. Together, right, left, right, right. So that could be kind of a cool thing to do. And if you want to get the bass line in the right key, you would play an E to a G sharp to an A twice. And then we do that again. E, G sharp, A, and then we go A, G sharp to F sharp twice. And then we play an E note one time, and then go right back to F sharp twice. And then we play F sharp, and then an E note, and then a D note twice. And then we play our D to an F sharp to an E note twice. And then we're back to our E, G sharp, A. E, G sharp, A, E, G sharp, A. So all together we got E, G sharp, A, E, G sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, F sharp, F sharp, E, D, F sharp, E, G sharp, A, G sharp, A. So we could kind of add in our chords to that in the same way we're doing for the C, if you're kind of digging on that. E, F sharp minor, F sharp, E, D, F sharp, E, So we're going to kind of play around with that too, and that can be cool in either one of those keys actually, just to kind of back you up. And a lot of times it just kind of depends on where your voice is if you're playing it as to which key might actually feel better in the key of A or the key of C. Now, randomly at the very, very end of a piece of music like Stand By Me, you might do something I call the grand finale, which relates to something called arpeggios, where you take the chords we're doing and then you break them up. So one thing I really like doing at the end of a piece of music is you could take the chord and kind of play the roots, and then the third, and then fifth, and then you might want to jump up to the next chord root, third, fifth, and the next chord root, third, fifth, and maybe end on a root, and then maybe play a low root. So that could be a cool grand finale, is kind of that. Oh, missed it. And randomly, if you have a damper pedal or a sustain pedal, you could kind of hold that down on a chord like that, and that'll get all those notes sustaining for you. So that may be kind of a cool thing to play around with, to kind of holding down the pedal just to kind of get used to that. You could kind of work big hits too. But that's my basic crash course into piano, kind of getting you playing some chords and working some things. So best of luck.